Hi, my name is Colton Bishop. I'm a product manager on the Central Accessibility team in Google Research. And today I'm going to be presenting two new features in Switch Access launching soon, camera switches and Switch Access shortcuts. So first, an overview of what Switch Access is. Switch Access is essentially an Android accessibility service that provides users with a touchless interaction system. For instance, in the animation to the right, you see that a user can control the entirety and navigate the entirety of their Android device using only two buttons. The gray button, for instance, would be assigned to next element, which lets them scan and iterate across elements in the screen. And the yellow button could be assigned to select. And using just these two external switches, they can control their whole device. So what is a switch? A switch is essentially any external thing that can be triggered, or that can be used to trigger an action and control these scanning paradigms. So the goal of Switch Access is to provide an efficient, customizable, easy, and inexpensive solution to people who can't touch or interact with their device via conventional modalities like voice or touch. Camera switches allows users to use 6 facial gestures as switches and assign these to different actions to control their device. These 6 gestures are look left, look right, look up, raise eyebrows, smile, and open mouth. These 6 gestures provide users everything they need to have a hands-free method of navigation for their Android device and can be used to control everything. So, what's under the hood? Camera switches uses computer vision models that take input from the front-facing camera and classify these 6 supported gestures. Using just these gestures, all Switch Access interaction paradigms can now be done through these facial gestures. These paradigms are linear scanning, which was demonstrated in the animation previously, which is just kind of linearly scanning across elements on the screen. Row and column scanning, where you can scan across chunks of rows, and then once you have a row, scan across the columns. Color grouping, where all of the elements on the screen are given a couple colors, and switches are assigned to those colors, and then you indicate which color your element falls into via switches and gradually narrow down your element until you reach the final one. Global actions, switches can be assigned to things like go home, open navigation, or open notifications panel, or go back. And also point scanning, where vertical and horizontal lines move across the screen, and you can start and stop them via switches, and their point of intersection is the point that you want to touch or interact with. Now, all of these paradigms can be done via switches and via facial gestures, which is really exciting. As a note on on-device machine learning and privacy, all image data is classified locally via on-device machine learning models and immediately discarded after classification, meaning that no image data is ever sent to Google servers, no image data is ever stored on Google servers, and no image data is stored on your device. We also provide a couple options to customize each gesture to fit your needs most like comfortably. So for instance, here we see the look right gesture. You can customize the gesture size, so how prominent you should make the gesture for it to be recognized. This exposes kind of the sensitivity of these classification models so that you can, for instance, if you are prone to having facial spasms, you could be triggering a lot of gestures accidentally, and so you could increase the gesture size needed for this to be recognized. You could also increase the gesture duration. So you have to hold the gesture for a certain amount of time before it's recognized. Or for instance, if it's difficult for you to trigger big gestures, you can make the model a lot more sensitive. So it's more likely to recognize you when you raise your eyebrows or look left or look right. So these two configurations are exposed for every single one of the gestures, all 6 that we provide. And we also provide a try it sandbox. So users can explore each gesture, customize it, see which ones best fit their need, and then decide which they want to use for which actions and figure out how to customize those to be most comfortable and effective. So now a quick demo of camera switches. So to get to camera switches, navigate to Settings, Accessibility, Switch Access Settings, and then you see the camera switch settings here. Now, to configure camera switches or Switch Access in general for the first time, I like to use the Setup Guide. So I can clear all my previously assigned switches, and then it walks me through everything I need to configure Switch Access for use. So I'll choose camera switch as my switch type. I'll navigate with 2 switches, and I'll use linear scanning. Next, I'll choose a gesture to assign for next, such as raise eyebrows, a gesture for select, like open mouth, and a gesture for pause, like look up. Now I can go into each of these gestures and customize them as I want. So it seems open mouth is recognized pretty comfortably. Can make it a little bit less sensitive. Good. And change the gesture duration to half a second. Now I can use camera switches to interact with my device. So I'll look up to pause it, and I can speak, open my mouth, and it's not likely to be triggered by accident. Look up to unpause it, then I'll use my eyebrows to navigate through the items in the screen and my mouth to select. So unpause. Navigate. And select. You see that there's some audio visual feedback on the side. So as the gestures are being recognized, a little blue bar moves up so you can be aware of how the system is recognizing your gestures. And you also see that you're provided with this icon at the top that shows you the camera switches are being used, or if your face is obscured, that it can't see your face. Now, another feature that's being introduced that makes camera switches and switch access in general even more powerful is shortcuts in switch access. One major pain point of users is that it's super difficult to do things like scrolling, pinching, swiping. A lot of these custom touch gestures are really difficult to do via switch scanning and switches in general. What Shortcuts allows users to do is record custom touch interactions like pinching, swiping, double tapping, scrolling, and assign those to switches that you can launch them via raising your eyebrows or via a button that you have. And now I'll show a quick demo. So here we navigate to settings, assign switches to shortcuts. So here you can see that I have several swipe ups because this is what I've been using to demo. But if I wanted to make a new swipe up, I would simply type new shortcut. And you can see with this overlay panel on the bottom that the system is waiting for gestures to record. I'll do a swipe up. And now that gesture is recorded, I can save that. And I'll save that as swipe up. And then I'll assign that to the smile feature. So whenever I smile, I can scroll now. So as a quick demo of that, I'll turn on camera switches and I'll smile to scroll. These gestures can be used for almost anything. So you can do things like zooming in on pictures. You can do things like complex kind of series of things. If you have to tap, tap, swipe, the gestures can be compounded and combined for maximum effectiveness. With both of these gestures, we're hoping to provide a lot more value to users that currently use switch access, but have a lot of things that are not being provided to them. Thank you. It was an honor to present, and I hope everyone is as excited about these features as we are. Thank you.